This was a position after 22 moves in the game between Magnus and Alexander Naumann. Magnus has sacrificed 3 pawns for this position. What is his compensation? He has got an active rook. He has got a nice bishop, a nice knight, another nice bishop, and black's pieces are yet to be developed, especially this knight. And because of the knight, the rooks are also yet to come into the game. So how did Magnus get to this position? How did he sacrifice 3 pawns positionally and get a nice position against Naumann? Let's see. Magnus started with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and d4. Magnus has not played that many games in this opening, the Scotch, but he tries it out every now and then. So in this game, knight f6 was chosen by Naumann. The other option for black is bishop c5, which will lead to bishop e3, and then queen f6 and c3. Here after knight f6, knight takes knight, b pawn takes, because if d takes, an exchange of queens would happen and king can't castle. So e5, queen e7, queen e2, knight moves, knight d2. So Magnus wants to get this knight to e4 and also keep the option of c4 and f3 for himself. Knight f4, attacking the queen, queen e3, knight d5, queen e4, f6. Here Magnus plays c4, attacking the knight, knight moves, king d1, keeping an eye on c2. And now he would play a3 and kick the knight back. Queen takes pawn. So it was a pawn sacrifice, basically, this king d1 move. After queen takes queen, a3, black is up by a pawn, but white has got a nice knight, and the black knight is kicked away from action. Knight a6 and b4. The black knight is doomed to passivity in the corner of the board at the cost of 1 pawn. Of course, b5, bishop b7, bishop d3. Now the black knight has to go away all the way back to b8. It doesn't look bad for 1 pawn. Yeah, white has got a lot of compensation, and now Magnus brings a rook in. King f7, getting out of the discovered attack possibility. Knight c3, heading to the d5 square. Bishop d6, Naumann frantically brings his pieces out. f4, killing that bishop, basically, killing all play along the diagonal. Bishop takes g2. This is another pawn sacrifice, by the way. Magnus has given away 1 more pawn, and then he plays king c2, basically making all his pieces harmonious. Now bishop can come out either here or here, and rook d1. So full development at the cost of 2 pawns. And black is yet to figure out how to bring out the knight and the rooks into the game. This rook can come to e8, but then the knight needs to get out. And the bishops are active, but they're kind of out of play. They're alone out there. Pawn g6, bishop b2, sacrificing 1 more pawn. Naumann takes it. Now look at white's pieces. All the pieces are active. And this is a position I showed you at the beginning of the video. By the way, if you like the analysis, please subscribe to my channel and hit that like button. Now, the bishops are also not defended. So Magnus plays rook e2, getting a tempo on the bishop. You can't go bishop f3 because of rook f2, winning a piece. So now the other rook will also come to the e file. Bishop went back, rook f1. Many players would have played rook e1, trying to get the rook in. But Magnus decides there has to be some action on the f file. The bishop is defended now with g5, but of course h4. If h6, which is actually a slight mistake if it was played, Magnus would have played h5, and then this bishop would jump into g6. This looks terrible for black, because now rook e7 is also going to come. So that is why here black played d6, trying to get his knight into the game as quickly as possible. Magnus gets back a pawn. If bishop takes pawn, then just rook fe1 would be good. And now knight still cannot get it because of rook e7 check. And the white rooks are going to crash through. So here Naumann gives back a pawn. And now knight e4, more pressure on f6. Knight d7, trying to get the piece in. But knight f6 and Magnus strikes. He gets back 1 more pawn. And after knight takes, bishop takes, pawn takes, whatever pawns he gave away, Magnus is getting back. Because he got 2 pawns now. And this is going to be a third. And here Naumann just resigned. he decided he had had enough, because the material is now even. Whatever black does, there is going to be rook takes knight. Or actually here, rook takes c5, even better. Why take the knight? The knight is anyway gone. Magnus actually wins one pawn here. And if black defends it, then g into f6 looks good. If rook d7, bishop f5. So it's hopeless for black. Maybe a little too early to resign, but because it's a world champion, Naumann would have felt there's no chance. So right after rook takes e5, Naumann resigned and Magnus won a positional masterpiece.